Hello, good morning, and welcome to Morning Brew on Politics Social. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Monday, the 24th of November, 2025. It's mine and Kat's 8th anniversary. We're not married or nothing, but it's 8 years since we got together today, so that's quite exciting. Yeah, 8 years. 8 years ago today, I came to Durham for the first time in my life to give a talk about, I gave two talks. I gave one at the university about my travels, and I also hosted a debate about Brexit here in Durham. And it was the first time since I was 16, or we were 16, me and Kat, that we were both single at the same time. Was it fate? I don't know. Anyway, so reasons to be cheerful today on this otherwise absolutely miserable day out there. Ivan Ambrose, thanks so much for the 20 quid, mate. That is very kind of you. Kicking off the super chat fund for the week. I won't be staying in the stream due to the topic. Oh, sorry, mate. There was more than enough for my brain going on in the UK. However, I'm delighted to announce that I've been elected to the Executive Committee of Disability Labour. That is fantastic news. Congratulations, Ivan. I'm really, really made up for you, mate. That is awesome news. So a bit of good news, and it's nearly Christmas. It's nearly Christmas. We've got the age. It doesn't really work, does it? At the top of the tree. Any suggestions that anyone has for someone else I could put on top of the tree? We could have a revolving roster of people on top of the tree. If you want them, I will do it. So yeah, all good. Happy anniversary, brother. Oh, thanks very much to Liam and Gillian and Chrissy and Elle and everyone else. If you want to join them in the chat, all you need to do is find the subscription animation. One sec. There it is. First of all, give us... Oh, hang on. Oh, that didn't even work. Oh, give us a like. We always like a like, and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling fruity, hit that bell notification icon and it will let you know when we're going live. Standard rule of procedure is, standard rule is every weekday at 9 o'clock we'll be doing Morning Brew. Generally, we try to keep things to a set schedule, but obviously life has a way of throwing spanners into the works, especially if it's a two-person show and one of us is unavailable for whatever reason. But hopefully we will be going ahead with Stateside tonight, but also Geoscope tomorrow, which you missed last week because I was out gallivanting. Just Dominoes and some retro games emulator for me today. Oh, Martin, that sounds like a good day. That sounds like a good rainy Monday. A Monday well spent. Retro gaming. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about DOGE and DOGE. So let's get into it, right? Because it looks like DOGE is dead. It doesn't exist anymore. It's sort of ended 8 months early. But let's get into it. So DOGE was announced on the 20th of January this year, Trump's first day of his second term, via an executive order, which he likes to sign with his fucking crazy autograph thing that he does. It promised to save $1 trillion in federal expenditure. $1 trillion. That's an important figure, and we will circle back to that. It was placed under the leadership of Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, framed as efficiency experts. Musk is the guy who bought Twitter, which was worth about $3 billion for $44 billion. So he knows a lot about efficiency, but he didn't buy Twitter to make money. He bought Twitter to buy influence, which worked actually. But the public claim was that they were going to eliminate government waste, as you know, streamline bureaucracy, shrink the federal workforce, and restore fiscal stability. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, after Refuck did better than expected in the May local elections, they attempted to replicate DOGE at a local authority level, piloting the system in Kent County Council after Refuck took control. This was sold as a template of how national Farage governments, how the national Farage government, if they ever get into government, would function. It was headed up by Reform's head of policy, Zia Yusuf, and tasked with reviewing council spending. And they claimed that they were going to cut costs and wasteful programs and reduce council tax. So share goals, obviously one fed off the other: cut spending, reduce staff, lower taxes, make government efficient. But that this sort of idea that government costs too much and the private sector mindset will fix it. So let's talk about the operational reality of what happened in both of these cases. So Doge was named after a meme, which eventually became a meme coin. One of those con things, the crypto pyramid scheme, money pyramid scheme, where the fake money, you get the fake money in your fake wallet, but it is actually worth real money if enough people believe, like SpongeBob SquarePants, believe. If enough idiots believe that the money is worth something, the money will be worth something. And thankfully, there are loads and loads of idiots out there. So a handful of people have made absolute killings on the crypto market. Most of them giving advice on YouTube on which crypto stocks to buy from one day to the next. Not actually, sort of trading themselves, because it's so risky. It's stupid. You may as well just put all your money, all your life savings on a 20-1 horse at the GGs. It's gambling. That's all it is. It might go up, it might go down, and people like the exhilaration of gambling. They like the joy of gambling. But the difference is this, right? Even though the prize fund for Euro Millions goes up, depending on how many people have played the game, the prize fund for the National Lottery, or the Lotto as it's now called, goes up when more people play the game, right? And the same thing happens with crypto. The more people who play the game, the more you could possibly win. You're much more likely to lose, but you could win. But here's the difference. I don't see any motherfucker going on at me at a house party, or in a bar, or in a pub, or in a club, or at a fucking bus stop, telling me I need to invest in the National Lottery. That doesn't happen. That's something that's never happened to me. They said, you got to do Euro Millions. Why? Because it's just great. It's a great investment. I made so much money out of the Euro Millions. Yeah, I haven't won it yet, but I will. And when I do win it, I want the pot to be as big as possible. So please, throw in a few quid and buy some Euro Millions tickets. And I'm like, this is strange. This has never happened to me in my real life. Do you know what has happened to me? People boring me to death online and in real life about how I need to invest in cryptocurrency. Not because it'll make me any money. They don't think it will. They know it won't, probably. They just want to make more money for themselves because it's a fucking pyramid scheme. Anyway, I'm sure someone in the chat's going to be like, I made £500,000 out of crypto. Good bully for you. Bully for you. The fact is, the vast majority of people who go anywhere near crypto get ripped the fuck off. They get ripped off. They lose so much. Oh, look at that woman who how much did she net? 20 billion. That Chinese woman who defrauded all these Chinese pensioners out of their fucking life savings through crypto. Yeah, she was doing all right, wasn't she? Until they caught her and put her in jail. I think they should have given her a fucking medal for services to grift. For services to being a dirty, rotten scoundrel. Yuri Infectanov, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I gamble every day when I look at the back of my fridge. £5 for swears and beers, my friend. Thank you. Swears and beers. That's what we should call the Friday night show, shouldn't it? Swears and beers. Swears and beers with the Friday night social. I'm going to put a goal up. So we're going to have 10 super chats, all the colours. We've got 1 hour, bags of time. And I will get my confetti animation warmed up, ready to go. If you wanna go. Just give it a second though, because it takes about a minute to actually kick in. And if someone drops a super chat in before then, it doesn't actually clock up. But there you go. Anyway, so we're talking about Doge and saving money, right? And so it was named after this cryptocurrency, this meme coin, which was based on a meme. This dog that would say things, and it was hilarious if you're fucking two. I don't know. It was one step down from minion memes, It was always like there was a little Doge dog that was tiny and small, and that would say, "I'm tiny and small," and it would have like a muscly Doge dog, and it would be like, "Oh, I'm saying something because I'm big and strong." Yeah. Memes. God, imagine having to explain to your grandkids what memes are in 50 years' time. Well, we had these funny pictures and they went out on the internet and then people bought them as NFTs. Because that wasn't a con. How much is your NFT worth now? Your NFT collection? People spent like $500,000 fucking dollars buying these fucking graphics, buying a fucking JPEG. I mean, come on. Come on. Please do not insult my intelligence by pretending for a second that this is any acceptable way to rip people off. You know? At least give people something back. At least don't make them feel humiliated this small after blowing the life savings on a fucking JPEG I could have knocked together on Photoshop in 5 fucking seconds. Anyway, Jack Russell's for you has just dropped £5 in the super chat jar. Thank you very much. For fuck's sake, Graham, that's for the swear. You get your own coffee today. Hey, thank you very much, Jack. That's very kind of you. Chris said, I wouldn't trust crypto as far as I can throw it. Yeah. And where's the money coming in for refuck at the moment? Fucking crypto. How has Trump made over $1 billion since being inaugurated in January this year? Fucking crypto. How is Russia funding this fucking war? Which all the economic experts are, they'll run out of money in 2 months. They'll run out of money. They haven't run out of money. Why? Because of crypto. Do you see the link? Anyway, and this is the thing, like, you know, they were saying, how cryptocurrency was going to replace real currency, and they got an ATM machine installed in El Salvador for some fucking reason where you could get out your crypto. No one took any money out. Why? Because someone paid for a pizza using Bitcoin, right? 10 years ago, they paid for a fucking pizza, and everyone's like, if you just kept that money, it'd be worth £27,000 million now. And they're like, oh, fucking hell, 27,000 million. Oh, shit, fucking hell, fucked up there. Shouldn't have bought that pizza. So who's going to take it out when the money could go up? No one's going to use it as an actual fucking currency because it's pointless. It's ridiculous. And Paul is absolutely on the money here when Paul says crypto is a Ponzi scheme. You are absolutely right, mate. It is the Ponzi scheme to end all Ponzi schemes. I just realized that that unfortunately, because my camera angle at the moment, you can't actually see Brock the Badger. That's made me very sad. So I'm just going to move the frame over. Look, there you go. Now we have Aid and we also have Brock. There you go, in frame. Mise en scene, motherfuckers. Mise en scene. Whatever that means. Is it mise en scene? I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about Doge, which I'm supposed to be talking about, but I'm getting distracted by all the shiny objects like cryptocurrency. Anyway, so first of all, in the operational reality of Doge, right? We had they had a tiny budget, right? Of I don't know, it was like $50 million, so like tiny for a government agency. And then there were reports of Doge agents entering federal agencies without ID or credentials, lack of transparency, which contradicted Musk's claim earlier in the year, where he said, I don't know a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge operation, which is just the biggest lie in the world. I wish people's pants would go on fire when they came out with these kind of lies. And then we had these massive workforce purges with over 200,000 federal workers in America fired. Roughly 75,000 buyouts were accepted and represented the largest single workforce reduction in US federal history. And there was the on-site habitation, the Politico. Got that a bit wrong, didn't I? Politico reported in June 2025 that Doge staff had picked their clothes and bedding from headquarters, packed up their clothes and bedding from headquarters, indicating they had actually stayed in their office. They slept over like kids, had a sleepover, because it was kids. It was like one 19-year-old who called himself Biggest Dickers or something, who was part of this. It was just The whole thing was just fucking vandalism from top to bottom. Yuri Infectov says, is Russian cryptocurrency called borscht? I don't know. Crypto, sorry, not cryptocurrency, just crypto. I don't know, Yuri. Perhaps, maybe. Borscht. Give me some borscht. In Ukraine, Uzbekistan, the dish there, it's a bit like borscht, is called plov. Plov. Go on, eat your fucking plov. I love that. Anyway, and then there was the point that there was no audited report of savings. They had this website that they set up that they said, oh, we saved all this money, but loads of stuff was counted twice. Loads of stuff was stuff that was cut during the Biden administration, and a lot of stuff was like, so there was money that had been made available but hadn't been spent, and they took all the money that had been made available and said, we've saved all this money, when the reality is, say a department was given, let's say 300 billion to keep it going till 2027, well, there is a chance that it wouldn't have used the 300. Maybe it would have only used 100, maybe it would have only used 50, but they were claiming the whole 300. And then you've got the DOGE's impact on US federal functions at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which is their watchdog for, like Watchdog, the TV show Watchdog with Ann Foldswood, strong wrists, and Anne Robinson, Scouser. You can keep her. She's not one of ours anymore. Anyway, you are the weakest link. Goodbye. The government watchdog to protect consumers in America. America's got some daft fucking rules. Okay, here's one daft rule from America. When you make something like food for someone to eat or a nutritional supplement, right? In Europe and in the UK, you have to prove that it's safe before you take it to market. You have to go through extensive testing and prove it's safe. In America, you can put it to anything you want to market, and then if someone proves it's unsafe, you have to take it off the market. Because American life is cheap in America. Americans' lives aren't really worth a damn. That's why they allow guns in schools and shit. It's just one of those things that they're prepared to take on. But the other thing is, Americans are famously litigious. They're famous for suing people for all kinds of reasons. And I know that story about the woman who scalded herself with hot coffee that she put on her lap at a McDonald's drive-thru, and McDonald's tried to make it out that she was a silly woman who didn't realize that the things that the coffee was hot. Oh, how funny was it? When the reality is that McDonald's had lots and lots and lots of complaints about this because they were serving coffee that was too hot, and it scalded customers all over America. And that was the case that actually made it, because she kept on going, whereas the rest of the people who got scalded were, out of court settlements or whatever. And McDonald's managed to spin this narrative that this woman who was a klutz who, she didn't know the coffee was hot. No, the coffee was too hot. The coffee was too hot and it wasn't put in a proper container. So the actual container was really, really hot. But that's by the by. In America, generally speaking, they like to sue. They like to sue all kinds of people for all kinds of things. Look at Donald Trump. He's going to sue the BBC for $5 billion, right? For saying that he mounted an insurrection against the Parliament building over there, which he totally did. He totally did do that, right? Okay, so here's the thing. In America, for some reason, well, I know what the reason is, but I'll come to that in a moment. But there's one particular consumer product that can literally blow up in your face because of a malfunction, because of a manufacturing malfunction, can literally tear your face off, result in near fatal or even fatal injuries, blow your hand off, right? And the thing is, guns. In America, if there is a manufacturing defect with a toy gun, and that toy gun blows the hand off a toddler, you can then sue the manufacturer of that toy gun. If it's a real gun and it blows the hand off a toddler who found it under their dad's bed, you can't sue. You can't sue. I know this sounds insane. I did my final year dissertation on American gun law, gun policy in America. That was 25 years ago. 25 years ago this year. Nothing's changed. And the shocking things about American guns and how they are protected, not just by the Constitution, but by so many laws and regulations that have been brought in to protect the gun manufacturers from anything anyone does with those guns. The things that are put in to protect the murderers, protect the people killing people. They could have stuff like, every mobile phone has a thing where it doesn't work unless you put your thumbprint on it. Yeah. They got that thing on millions, perhaps billions of mobile phones around the world. You've got to put your thumbprint on it, right? Yeah. You could have that on a gun. And the only person who could fire that gun is the person who owns that gun. But they won't do it. They could have it so that every single bullet is registered with the person who buys the bullet. And it's all digital. So there is a spreadsheet with all of the guns that are owned, the serial numbers, and the name and address of the person who owns that particular weapon, and all of the ammunition they own that you have to account for. And if you decide to go and shoot some tins in the back garden, that's fine. That's fine. We don't care. But if one of those bullets ends up in the head of a child, then we're going to come for you. And we've got a national database computerized that we can check that up. That doesn't happen in America. Not only can you go into Walmart and buy as much ammunition as you like, in the UK, you can't buy more than 2 packets of paracetamol without the till pinging and saying, "Hey, stop that. You might be doing something naughty with that paracetamol," which is fair enough. I don't have a problem with it. It's a bit annoying when you're trying to get loads of paracetamol to take to Ukraine or something, but that's by the by, right? Meanwhile, in America, right, they're not even allowed to have it digitized by law. They cannot have the registration of guns digitized. It's in some fucking warehouse in Virginia or West Virginia or something, where there's a big warehouse and it's got all these shelves and they're all full. Like when you went to the library when you were a kid. I don't know how old the people watching this are, but if you remember the days before the internet, the days before you could look things up online, right? And you used to go to the library and they had those cards and you pulled out the drawer and it was all like little tiny cards. Yeah. Now imagine that system with loads of tiny chits of paper, right? So not even cards, just chits of paper from all over America, from all these different gun sales places, where all these different places that sell guns, gun shows, where they all these things, right? And people have just written what their address is and ticked a thing saying that they're sane. We've got to stop crazy people from having these guns. Oh, how should we do it? We'll have a little box that say, "Are you mad?" And if you tick yes to that, you can't have the gun. Great, that'll stop them. And they go on about London being a crime-ridden place when America has 5 times the murder rate of the UK. 5 because of all the guns. Take all the gun murders away, it's about 1.5 per 100,000. In the UK, it's 1 in 100,000. So there'll still be a higher murder rate in America than us, but still, it'd be a lot less without all the gun deaths. Sarah, £2 super. Hi, Graham. Sorry I'm late. No need to apologise. I've been going off on random fucking tangents about all kinds of shit, so don't you worry. Simon says, byline times 1 in 5 homes in Refit Council areas to flood as Farage Limited defunds flood defences. Yep. Out-of-court settlements should be regulated, as should NDAs. These absolutely corrupt loopholes are easily exploited by powerful interests. You're absolutely right. McDonald's pies are the worst. When they're pulled out of the fryer, the internal temperature is around 120 degrees, so they have to leave them for 10 minutes before serving. Yeah, they pouring molten lava on your lips. Tastes good, though. Chris says that's because the American kids think that the plastic toy is auto-edible, especially when the other food is basically plastics and chemicals. Are we talking about the fact that Kinder Surprise eggs are banned in America? They have to have Kinder Joy, where the toy is separate to the egg. Like you've got the egg and then you get the toy in like a blister pack. Because you don't want to surprise an American child. But, the Kinder Surprise banned in America to, protect the children. AR-15s, not banned. Not banned at all. Anyway, so yeah, back to Doge. Right, so on its own website, Doge claimed that they had saved $214 billion, right? But no documentation was published to validate that figure, right? And don't forget, they said that they were going to save a trillion, right? So they've saved less on their own figures. They've saved less than a quarter of that figures, but their own figures were just pulled out their ass. Knife crime is also higher in the USA. Yes, Miss Paula Thomas. In fact, every single criminal crime metric, drug dealing, sexual assault, rape, carjacking, people stealing your car, burglary, every single metric, America has a higher rate of it than the UK when it comes to crime. Every single one. We are a much safer society in the UK. Much, much safer. One of the other reasons why I'm so pissed off at Labour at the moment is I wanted to be sitting here, nearly a year and a half into a Labour government. I wanted to be sitting here, talking about how boss things are. How much better they are now compared with how they were under the Tories, how much better Britain was doing. But I can't because... yeah, Labour. Anyway, so let's talk about DOGE's economic impact on US federal functions. So, like I said, at the Consumer Financial, Protection Bureau, right? They had 1,480 staff made redundant, right? They were either fired or put out to pasture. And the agency had returned $26 billion to consumers since 2011 on a Federal Reserve budget of $7.3 billion, a 3-to-1 return. So for the amount of money that the government put into this bureau, right, they were giving consumers in America 3 times the amount that the department cost. A 3-to-1 return. But that was shut down, and it's basically allowed companies who are facing active cases, including Tesla, who are facing cases about their auto drive killing people. It allowed them to avoid penalties, and some of those companies that got to avoid penalties were owned by Elon Musk. Conflict of interest, much? Do you think? So that was Starlink, SpaceX, and Tesla, all of whom were facing some sort of penalties or redress at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau at the time, and all those cases were dropped. Nice work if you can get it. Meanwhile, the National Institute of Health, there was a $4 billion cut to research funding in February this year. That triggered an estimated $10 billion loss in economic activity and approximately 44,000 jobs per year based on economic multipliers. Yeah, so that happened. Roughly 20,000 positions lost within the HHS, including NIH-related roles. And then we have USAID, where nearly 10,000 employees were fired. USAID programs provided $28.9 billion in domestic economic benefits, including purchase of US agricultural produce. So what happened was US farmers in America, they would make soybeans, they would make corn, they would grow corn, and they would then sell it to USAID, which would then go out to developing nations like Mozambique and give out that aid. The cuts were absolutely devastating, not just to the people who were relying on this aid to come to them, but also to American farmers and American pharmaceutical companies and American people in general. It was, obviously worse for the people who were relying on these programs that were set up via USAID to fight AIDS, HIV, also tuberculosis, malaria, other tropical diseases and systemic problems that we have in developing nations. And grotesquely, money was taken from people starving in Darfur, in Western Sudan. You also had kids down in Mozambique being born HIV positive because the process of allowing a HIV positive mother to give birth without any transfer of blood to the baby, that would cause them to then go and have a lifetime with this disease, which would mean a lifetime of taking medication. And most people in Sub-Saharan Africa can't afford that medication. A lot of people die. A lot of children die because that HIV develops into full-blown AIDS if you can't afford the antiretrovirals. So Elon Musk and Donald Trump and their horrible, disgusting mates fucking kill babies. Baby killers. Baby killers. And there were cases of entire like food mountains that were just left to rot. Medications that were just left in a warehouse or in a container on the docks, just left to rot. Just left to rot. They'd already bought them, but they said, no, don't give people anything. And now Mozambique, ISIS is fucking back. ISIS in Mozambique. Get yourself a map, have a look at how far away from Iraq Mozambique is. And yet there you have ISIS, running entire vast swathes of land in Mozambique because as a direct result of this money being taken away by the richest man in the world. The richest man in the world smacking food out of the mouths of babies. And if you don't think that is utterly grotesque, I can't talk to you. I can't deal with people who have no moral compass, who don't care in any way, shape or form about the world, about others, about suffering, about death of children. Someone who could just step over the corpse of a baby and not, and continue chewing their gum or eating their fried chicken, whatever the fuck it is they're doing, busy on their phone playing Block Blast. Stepping over the corpses of dead fucking babies, these people who were like, yeah, Elon Musk, love him. He's great. We should do that in the UK. I vote for Nigel Farage, What a fucking scumbags. What terrible human beings. What terrible things happen to these people in their life to make them turn out like this. Well, Elon Musk was probably abused by his fucking disgusting sexual predator of a father, but, there's no excuse. Lots of people who have been abused as children don't turn into fucking monsters when they grow up. But there you go. That's Elon Musk for you, isn't it? I think bad blood, maybe. His dad's a fucking paedophile who married Elon Musk's 3-year-old stepsister. I mean, he waited till she was of an age that he could impregnate her before he made his move. But you got to wonder at what point Elon Musk thought, oh, this baby's quite fit. I think I'll marry this toddler when she grows up. Fucking so fucked. So fucking fucked. Anyway, on to the Internal Revenue Service, where this is probably the maddest one of all. I mean, the cruelest one is USAID. The maddest one is this, right? The Internal Revenue Service, revenue, making money for the US government. Over 11,000 employees were removed. That was 7,000 firings and 4,000 buyouts. The IRS projected a 10% decline in tax receipts, equating to over $500 billion lost in 2025 due to reduced enforcement and auditing capacity. Now, I want you to take note of that figure because that figure is $500 billion. Right, so let's make some notes here. So DOGE comes in, it says we're going to save $1 trillion, right? Then they make these cuts and they say that they have saved 220 billion, right? That's what they say. It's a lie. They've saved less than $1 billion, but they say that this. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And then we've got the lost outputs in Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, the Internal Revenue Service, NASA, USAID, National Institutes of Health, the Customer Financial Protection Bureau. So in the end, this year alone, DOGE has cost the US taxpayer at least $500 billion. That is including how much they say they've saved. So I'm being generous. If we realize that the amount that they say they saved is bullshit, and the amount they actually saved is 100 times less than that, they saved about maybe 2 billion, if that, right? 100 times less than what they said. 100 times less than what those cheating, lying, stealing motherfuckers said, right? If you add that on, I mean, realistically, it's almost $750 billion. that they have cost. Not that they've saved, but they have cost. They haven't saved the US a fucking penny. And yet, there are people on this side of the Atlantic, millionaires, privately educated millionaires, nearly all of them, looking over to America and, oh, we should do that here. We should totally do that here. Absolute madness. Absolute fucking madness. So yeah, in the US Department of Agriculture, 5,700 jobs were cut. The cuts disrupted the federal response to avian flu, to bird flu, which had already cost the poultry industry over 1.4 billion. And the Department of Education, there was nearly 2,000 positions eliminated, and planned closure threatened funding streams for low-income schools, potentially impacting up to 180,000 teaching positions nationally over time. Nice, let's go after the teachers. Imagine standing up in front of a crowd of people and saying, first, we destroy the teachers. Wow. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much. Doge is an argument from ignorance. You're damn right, Paula, it is. It's really grim. It's really grim. Nick and Div says, okay, folks, what insults am I writing back to Reform today? They want to hear my thoughts. Got a stamped envelope. Phil said I should write notes with a wine, but not drinking this month. Yeah, I think you should be. I think you should be very sweary. I think you should be incredibly sweary. And then there's so talked a little bit about the financial impact, and to be generous, we're going to say that it's cost the American economy, or the American taxpayer actually in the end, because $500 billion of lost income coming from the IRS because of what these clowns have done. Let's say $750 billion, right? They've cost. So that's what the efficiency has cost so much. That's a lot to pay for efficiency. And then you've got the human impact. Public health researchers have cited in Reuters and a subsequent expert commentary stated that reductions in global health programs could result in hundreds of thousands of premature deaths, with projections rising to millions by 2030 due to the USAID collapse. Diseases affected include HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, where prevention costs are significantly lower than treatment. HIV treatment is estimated between $229,000 and $338,000 per individual per lifetime. So if that baby is born and that baby contracts HIV from their mother in birth, during birth process, then that's going to cost the Mozambique government, or the governments of other countries around the world who might give for overseas aid. It's going to cost them a lot more than the simple procedure that stopped that kid from getting HIV in the first place. And then we've got the whistleblower report that reported that DOGE uploaded social security data to a cloud server without proper safeguards. This is mind-blowing, this one. Do you remember all that stuff about Hillary Clinton's emails? Do you remember that? Yeah? Do you remember all the shit about her? Oh, but her emails. What's wrong? She used her own server to send some emails. Okay. And they got hacked. Oh, okay, right. And they got hacked by Russians, and they released them all via Julian Assange. Thanks for that, Julian, you twat. And as a result, not only did she lose the election, but she also was told that she was the worst person ever to ever existed, because she put all this information, about what time she was taking her dog to get groomed on a server, on an unsecured server. It wasn't on a public. It wasn't on, and this was something that the previous Secretary of State for Defense, or whatever the fuck she was, had done. Colin Powell. He'd done exactly the same thing. Do you know why? Because email relatively was kind of new, and these new rules and protocols hadn't really been put in place yet. But the amount of shit she got. But what these Doge motherfuckers did is they went into this top secret information, people's social security information, and they just uploaded it to the fucking cloud. The risk of exposure here isn't just one woman working for the government arranging haircuts. No, this is millions of Americans' private details being sold on to the highest bidder via the internet. Yeah, and They also attempted, and in some cases succeeded, to access sensitive government data across agencies. But yeah, apparently now the OPM director, Scott Cooper, has told Reuters that that DOGE no longer exists. It doesn't exist. It's no longer a centralized entity. It just doesn't exist. Cool. Musk departed Washington in May 2025, coinciding with the collapse of the Operation Politico. Reporters staff feared legal repercussions for program destruction and job losses, and Trump began referring to DOGE in the past tense. And so, Jan 2025, it was created. February to May 2025, that was peak austerity. 2025, June 2025. This was when the staff exit was reported for the wretched the DOGE staff that were left over once Elon Musk was gone, and now that the dissolution of DOGE has been confirmed by the OPM. And some of the former staff have now been placed into new roles. So there's a guy called Joe Gebbia, who's now National Design Studio. Amy Gleason is now an advisor at HHS. I'm too used to saying HSS, which is the hire company for tools, isn't it? And I am a tool. Zachary Terrell is now a CTO, Chief Technical Operator or Officer, whatever the fuck, at HHS. Rachel Riley, not of Countdown fame, different Rachel Riley, Office of Naval Research, and Jeremy Lewin is has gone to the State Department Foreign Assistance. ProPublica identified 114 verified former DOGE staff who now have inside government roles. And then we have DOGE over here. Farage copied DOGE, and he wants to bring Elon Musk style efficiency to Kent. So you can tell how well this went, because DOGE, being generous, cost the US at least so far $750 billion. It might actually be $1 trillion. It might be $1 trillion mistake, right? And that's just this year. This year isn't over yet. And these are going to be rolling costs that are going to knock on in the future. There's something else as well, is the fact that there's a lot of people who have been fired who are suing the government, who are suing the actual government for getting rid of people. And also there's the fact that there was a plane crash back in the beginning of the year that was caused by the fact that they had decided to fuck around with the air traffic control rotors and get rid of as many air traffic controllers as they could. A highly technical job. There's only a few people who can actually fucking do it in the world, and they decided to get a bunch of fire a load of them, meaning that the people who remained behind were doing twice as much work for the same amount of pay. They didn't get a bonus because they were trying to make efficiencies, and fucking planes crashed. But yeah, the Farage has decided to copy it and bring this Elon Musk style efficiency. That's the word he said. To Kent. Kent County Council was selected as a pilot for Reform UK's controlled local government behaviour. Reform Council publicly framed Kent as the biggest advert. This is what they said for a future Farage national administration, which is brilliant because, yes, it was a fantastic advert because it was a fucking disaster and everyone's council tax is going up now in Kent as a direct result of them voting for a refuck. So be careful who you vote for. Yeah. The financial reality is that the Kent County Council annual budget is £2.5 billion. 50% is spent on adult social care and special education needs, both statutory duties councils cannot legally cut, despite how much these rich, inbred motherfucker bastards like this Tice creep go on about special educational needs kids being making fun of them, making fun of children. This is where we fuck are right now, making fun of children for wearing earmuffs in school. I mean, that allows the kids to be able to knock out any extraneous sounds and concentrate on learning. And they're like, oh no, we've got to stop that. It looks silly. Like, what the fuck? Why are you hanging around primary schools, Tice, you fucking weirdo? What are you doing? Rubbing your legs outside the school gates, you fucking nonce. Fuck off. Oh, these kids are wearing it. Is that the biggest problem facing the fucking country right now? This is it. Explain it. If a refuck fucker ever dares knock on your door, ask them why. in the state of the world at the moment, the cost of living crisis, the fact that it's £7 for a pint of beer now, right, in the local. Ask them why their biggest fucking concerns are, let's get this straight, right? That rich people can't get the bank accounts that they want. Millionaires, multi-millionaires cannot get the bank accounts that they want. Okay. And that children are allowed to wear earmuffs in school if it helps with their concentration. Yeah, but what about the kids wearing earmuffs? What about them? I mean, oh my God. What a bunch of twats. I'm Bazan. Thank you very much for the £2 super chat. Oh, $2 actually, $2 US. America screwed itself in so many ways. Yes, it has. It has. Simon says, so everyone has to do it. Zero space laser conspiracy theorist Marjorie Taylor Greene quits. Celebrate good times. Come on. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. Do you know what? She's, I don't know where the fuck her constituency is. It's in like fucking rural Alabama or something. It's like deep red. I think she won by like 20 percentage points or something mad last time. There's going to be a special election. Well, they call a by-election a special election over there. So there's going to be a by-election, right, for her position in the House of Representatives. And she's leaving at the beginning of January, I think. So this special election will take place after that, right? In the first few months of the of 2026. I think if an American's watching this and they want to correct me, and there's a thing where they keep the seat empty until November when they have the midterms, then okay. But I don't think they do. I think they can have special elections so that the seat doesn't sit empty for that long. Be really interesting if that swings to the Democrats, wouldn't it? And like Marjorie Taylor Greene's old seat, which was like so incredibly Republican, it was silly. Imagine that going to the Democrats. Jesus. Georgia. Oh, she's in Georgia. Okay. Georgia, Alabama, same thing. Same horse, different jockey. I'm gonna get shouted at that now by Georgian people. No, it's not. It's different. Anyway, back to Farage, right? So the 50% of the money spent on adult social care and special education needs, that can't be legally cut. And the council announced a projected £50 million funding shortfall for the upcoming financial year. And Diane Morton, who's a REFUC cabinet member in Kent for adult social care, said services are already down to the bare bones. What do you think austerity was under the Tories? What do you think that was? What do you think about the fact that they took 49% of central funding away from Liverpool City Council? What do you think that did to services in Liverpool? Upkeep of the roads, public buildings, the infrastructure. What do you think that did to the social care that we needed? Anything they could trim, they trimmed. In Liverpool, we lost access to a child bereavement service that was set up to give children counselling for having lost a parent or a sibling. And we took the Tory government took the money away for it. Where were they going to make these fucking savings? After 14 years of Tory fucking nastiness. Took 14 years of Tories taking money from poor areas and giving it to affluent areas. Taking money from Salford and giving it to fucking Tunbridge Wells. That's what they did. That's what they fucking did. And Diane Morton went on to say, we've got more demand than ever before and it's growing. Really? Why did you say you're going to bring down the council? Oh, now they're saying they didn't say they were going to bring down the council tax. The problem is we have the receipts because people kept some of the leaflets, some of the flyers that were given out when REFUC were trying to win election back in May in the local elections, and those flyers say, in black and white, they say we're gonna cut council tax. We're gonna make these savings. We're gonna cut your council tax. But here's the reality: Reform are likely to raise the council tax in Kent by 5%. The legal ceiling for increases without permission from the government to raise it even higher. Here's the thing: it looks like the Labour government's going to give councils the permission to raise council tax even higher. So there might be a 10% increase in Kent. Might be a 10% increase here in Durham, where we now have a refut council, in Lincolnshire, in Staffordshire. These poor godforsaken places where people voted for Nigel Farage because they thought Nigel Farage had their best interests at heart. People don't learn, do they? People just don't learn. It's very hard. You know, I've got a teenage stepdaughter and a stepdaughter who's on her way to being a teenager, definitely. And the eldest really, really loves Taylor Swift, right? And that's fine. You know, you can have your fandom as a kid, and Taylor Swift isn't the worst. Doesn't annoy me when she plays the music, right? But here's the thing. She's a fan. She's a mad fan. She's a teenage girl, you know? According to her, Taylor Swift has never done a bum song. She's never made a meh album. I would say that the album that came out this year is meh, but she wouldn't. She thinks it's amazing. But generally speaking, you grow out of this. And as you get older, you realise that your favourite band, that's not a great song by them. It's like, I love Wolf Alice, but any song that they had the bloke singing on, I just skip that one. Just Ellie, don't let the men sing. Don't let them. Ellie, stop it. Don't let them. I know you want to be nice. You know, it's like letting Ringo write a song, but we could do without that. We could. But yeah, even Radiohead, when they came out with their fourth album, I kind of, it's okay, but it's only okay. You know, it's okay. It's like when Blair's fourth album with The Great Escape came out. I was like, okay, there's a few songs I like. There's a few songs I really don't like. Didn't like Country House. Didn't like Charmless Man. And I guess that's the thing when you grow up. You get to a point where you're like, okay, well, I can't analyze this critically. There is a movie with this particular actor in that shit, and there's shit in it. There's a director who I really love, but she's made some shite fucking films, right? Some real fucking bombs. You might like Steven Spielberg. He made 1941. It's fucking awful. Don't watch it. It is utterly dreadful. Don't do that, right? And the point I'm making is, these people who look at Trump and look at Farage and look at Boris Johnson and say they can do no wrong, and no matter how many bum songs they put out, no matter how many shit films they direct, they say, oh no, that was a good thing. That was a good song. That was a great film. It was just underrated. You know, you start making excuses. I'll tell you what, mate. If the family, if they're your own flesh and blood, fine. Make excuses. If there's someone in your life that loves you and you love them, fine. Make excuses for their shitty behavior, or that time you went out and you had a row in the restaurant. Make excuses for them all you like. I don't give a fuck. But when it comes to these mealy-mouthed motherfucking gobshites, like this Farage creep and this Trump creep, and these people who don't even know them, never met them, you know, who don't realise that these rich, privately educated motherfuckers wouldn't piss on them if they were on fire. They can do no wrong. And it's such a childish way of seeing the world. What is this? Is this Arrested Development? Is this the consequence of an entire generation, the majority of whom left school at the age of 14 and were told that they were the best at everything because they were British and Britain was number one? And I don't know. We were amazing. We won World War and World War II. I know World Cup. All the worlds. We won 3 world things. Yay. Alone with no help from anyone. No help from the Russians or the Russian linesmen. Amazing stuff. Well done, England. Well done, Britain. You're so great. But yeah, I mean, not being able to even say, yeah, okay, well, that was a bit of a shit thing that Farage did there. That was a bit of a shit thing that Trump did there. No, you talk to these people. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people are a little bit more objective. But some people are like, no, everything they did was magic. Everything they do is amazing. Everything they did would be for the greater good. For the greater good. For the greater good. And you're just sitting there going, why did you never grow up? What happened? What caused this Arrested Development? And what happened in your life that made you so fucking cocksure about everything when you know so little about everything? It's infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. Okay, so Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. That's very kind of you. Paula's drilled down into the figures. Thank you, Paula. That's fantastic. I love that when people write the figures that I need to say, but also pay me. Pay me to give me the figures. Thank you. Thank you, Paula. Very kind of you. Marjorie Taylor Greene had a majority of 100,000 out of 219,000 total votes cast. Special elections depend on state law. Georgia has 2 Democrat senators. It does have 2 Democrat senators. Radio albums are growers when you get them. Yes, Sid, I agree with you. My issue with Insomniac and the other one, it wasn't Hail to the Thief. What was it? Was that I found songs like Pyramid Song were very similar in my head to stuff like Polyethylene, which I love. I love that song. It's beautiful and dark and epic, and I don't know. I like, but it's a B-side. It's a B-side. It just is a B-side, and it's a nice song to listen to. Don't get me wrong, but I could never imagine myself just absolutely rocking out, or at a Radiohead gig on the front row, singing along to fucking Pyramid Song. They're there. Do you know? I'm just on the other hand, Fake Plastic Trees. I'm there all fucking day. Maybe not Pop Is Dead, but there you go. They never play that. Carinola, thank you very much for the $5. Cheers. Graham, you're on the case as usual, yo. Watching from my way home in Tokyo. Wow, that's really cool that you're in Tokyo and you're on your way home. That is really cool. Thank you so much. But yeah, I do find it a little bit worrying that there are so many grown adults who take this view that that no matter how many horrible things Trump or Farage do, they'll always ignore it. They'll always give them the benefit of the doubt. They wouldn't give you the benefit of the doubt, especially if you're foreign, if you weren't a Christian, or you were a Christian, but you were the wrong flavor of Christian. If you're a trans, if you're gay, if you're they wouldn't give you the benefit of the doubt ever. But they constantly give Trump and Farage the benefit of the doubt, constantly. And it's so fucking frustrating. We've got 9 out of 10 super chats come in because Viper Scott has put in a £2 super chat for Diz Confetti time. So we need one more super chat, any flavour, and we will have our confetti in this life or the next one. Oh, actually, no, just in this life. Yes, and we do it with Martin Harrow's £2 super chat. Woo! Thank you very much, Martin Harrow, there with the £2 super chat, which means we trigger, not just in the chat here, but in general, let's trigger the confetti! Boom! Yeah, confetti. We did it. Take that, Doge. Take that, you Doge motherfuckers. Anyway, so that's that. That is that. Okay, so thanks very much for the super chats. Back to the financial reality in Kent. The fact is that DOGE, policy failures, DOGE team led by Zia Yusuf, has run into difficulty obtaining access to sensitive financial data within Kent and other authorities. We've also West Northamptonshire leader, council tax said that council has said that the council tax is highly likely to rise this year. The leader here in Durham Council, Andrew Husband, the guy whose last company went under, owing £1 million to creditors and the taxman. Council must choose between council tax increases and service cuts without additional central funding. The begging bowl to the Labour government. And Staffordshire leader Ian Cooper hoped to reduce a 5% rise, but admitted inflation might prevent this. So Staffordshire, Durham, West Northamptonshire, and Kent, at least we know they're going to be putting up council tax by the full amount. The Institute of Government stated that reform councils face the same brutal arithmetic as all councils: statutory duties, rising demand, and limited revenue options. Cut to services like family hubs for children and young people, identified as false economies because they reduced longer-term savings and may trigger legal challenges, which is something that happened a lot with DOGE over in America, because people who lost their jobs sued. They sued the government, which is what I was talking about when I was saying they're quite litigious in America. I did mention that, yeah. So the government's getting sued left, right, and centre. It's costing the government a lot of money to, pay these people off. And then you've got the fact that, their claimed savings versus reality. Refuck claimed to have reduced Kent's debt by 66 million in 5 months and aim to reduce debt by a further 33 million by March 2026 with their no more borrowing policy. But they claim scrapping net zero renewable energy programs would save 32 million pounds over 4 years. But despite these claims, the council still faces a 50 million pound shortfall and is preparing to raise the council tax by 5%, as I said. So that's interesting. They say that they're going to use they're going to get rid of net zero projects, and that's going to save money. It's not. It's going to cost money because it leaves Kent County Council on the hook for whatever the fuck is going on in the Middle East or in Russia from one day to the next. Because if you're going to get the majority of your fuel from fossil fuels, you are basically handing yourself over to the Saudis in handcuffs to be, I don't know, whipped and then beheaded, maybe stoned to death. They still do that in Saudi, by the way. Sorry, trigger warning for anyone watching who's got a gentle disposition. But you know how they work. You know how stonings work. They bury people up to their necks in women usually up to their necks in sand and then throw massive fucking rocks at their face until they die, until their skull is broken. That's what they do in Saudi. They're getting the World Cup, Nice place. Anyway, so yeah, and then there's the structural constraints in local government. The councils must balance the budget annually under UK law. Social care demand has increased significantly, and this is the big issue that is facing the country at the moment at large, is that there's more older people than ever before as a proportion of the population. It means that there's more people that need social care than ever before as a percentage of the population than ever before. And what do we need to balance this out? We need people coming here. We need immigrants. We need people who were born in another country, who popped out their mum in a different coordinate of longitude and latitude to come here. But they don't want that. They don't want the one thing that could actually dig us out this shit. They don't want any foreign people coming. And they tell people to have more kids. How are we supposed to have kids? We can't have kids. Can't afford them. Can't afford kids. It costs a fucking fortune. It's £1 million per child now. Something mad. It's fucking expensive to have kids. You don't have that kind of money. I'm not bringing a kid into poverty. Not impoverishing myself by having a child. I'm just not gonna do it. I'd love to have kids, but I'm not going to. And it's because of Nigel Farage. It's because of fucking refuck. And now they're telling me to have kids. Go fuck yourself. Fuck yourself all the way to fucking unalivement, you motherfuckers. I fucking hate them. I absolutely hate these fucking gaslighting, lying sacks of shit. On their grift. Nigel Farage making 1.4 million in the last fucking year and a half. 1.4 million on his fucking side hustles. Along with his 90,000 he gets a year from being a fucking MP that he never actually turns up for. Yeah. So yeah, local authorities can't cut statutory obligations by cutting discretionary funding, discretionary programs alone. They just can't do it. And council tax becomes unavoidable when central government funding is insufficient, which it is at the moment. And there's a quite, identifiable pattern in this. Workforce cuts, reduced service capacity. Lost capacity results in higher, longer term cuts because you're having to pay fewer people, but you're having to pay them more. And then things go wrong because there's fewer people doing the job that you need them to do. There's fewer people collecting tax. You're not going to get as much tax. If there's fewer people gritting the roads, you're going to have more car accidents. You're going to have more people suing the council for not gritting the fucking road. It's going to cost you money in the long term. A stitch in time saves 9. And after 14 years of trying to cut corners and trying to cut costs, and pretty much every council, whether it was a Conservative council or whether it was a Labour council or a Lib Dem council, central government tried to cut everything. It was the Tories' 14-year austerity project. foisted upon us by Gideon Osborne and Nick the twat from the Lib Dems, Nick Clegg and what's his name, that gobshite, David Cameron and Theresa May, all privately educated, by the way. All those four people that his names I've just said were privately educated. Zia Yusuf was also privately educated, as was Tice, as was Farage. And they're the ones saying, oh, there's too much money being spent on the plebs. That's what they mean when they say about making efficiency. That's what Elon Musk, also privately educated, that's what they mean when they say they're going to be making government more efficient, because they don't want government subsidies going to the plebs. Do you know where they want the government subsidies going, friends? Do you know where they want them going? To the billionaires. For their rockets, for their Starlink satellites, for their oil, for their guns, for their tobacco, for their drugs. That's who they want. They want to be paying those people. They need more money. They need government subsidies. They turn up with their, holding the hat out. Cap in hand, please give us some more money. I'm a lowly billionaire on my way to becoming a trillionaire. Can I have some more government cash, please? Can we take some more money off the plebs and give it to me? That's what they mean. That's what they mean. And this is what we have to get through to people who have fallen down this fucking trap into thinking that Nigel Farage has their best interests at heart. Because all he goes on about is people coming from other countries and how bad that is. When in reality, we need people to come from other countries, because otherwise our economy's fucked. And our older generation, I make fun. I say, oh, not all boomers, and make fun. Well, I don't want them to die in pain because there's no one to look after them. I don't want that. Even though I'm not very happy with the majority of them, because they voted for fucking Brexit and they vote for Farage and they read the fucking Mail, thinking that's a serious newspaper when it's a fucking gutter rag. A fucking piss comic. So yeah, there's an identifiable pattern here in DOGE in America and DOGE over here. Workforce cuts, reduced service capacity, lost capacity results in higher long-term costs. Lost revenue from like the IRS or capped revenue in UK councils forces tax increases or service collapse. And programs marketed as cost-cutting end up creating higher expenditure and diminished outcomes. You end up spending more of your tax and getting less back because the people who are in charge don't know what they're fucking doing. These fucking dickheads have never been in local government before. They turn up like a bunch of fucking yahoos, don't know how any of it works, and they fuck it. I'm going to tell you a little story, right? There was a guy I used to work with. Please, if you know him, don't write his name in the chat, because I don't want, to be saying exactly who people are, right? And he used to work at a university, a big university in the UK. I won't say which one, right? And used to run effectively the events for the student union. This student union was quite unique in the country because it was one of the few student unions that consistently brought in a healthy profit. A healthy profit, right? Made loads of money. Why? Because every band that was playing would play at that university. Right? They had various venues for different sized bands or different sized crowds for bands. And they did really, really well out of it. Really, really well. And one of the reasons why they did really well out of this is because the guy who ran the place was really good mates with the guy who promotes a lot of the gigs in the UK. I'm not saying who, but if you know their name, some guy from Warrington, and also knew loads of bands, know the band managers and labels and stuff like that. And his contacts meant that we got all these gigs in, right? I made a load of money. But you see, the student union is beholden to the student council. And although you have an executive who actually run the council year to year, it's a full-time paid job. You then have the general secretary, which is elected, which is a position within the student union, but that's only for a year. But most of the people on the council, which included seats for people like the person who was in charge of the athletics union, would have a seat on the council. And these are kids who knew nothing about how to run an organization, and they didn't like this guy, so they got rid of him. They voted to get rid of him. And for the first year after they got rid of him, for the first time in, I think, maybe 25 years, maybe 25, first time in 25 years, the student union made a loss. So fewer student services, more expensive beer for the students, fewer things to look after the students who were there because we had less money. Well, they had less money. I wasn't there at the time. And then those people who voted in that council, who were just students who were there for a year, fucked off and left the damage behind for someone else to clean up. Great. Well done. I heard the story that they realised they fucked up and they got a consultant in who charged them like £1 million to come and consult about what the problem was. The problem was they didn't have someone in charge of the events who actually knew everyone in the music industry, which is what you kind of need in these situations. But I see there's a parallels here. In councils around the country, you have the executive. This is a paid full-time position. You have a CEO of the council whose job it is to run the council. And then you have run the city or run the county. And then you have the council, whose job is basically supposed to be kind of advisory. It's not a paid position being in a council, You get about $6,000 a year, I think, for expenses. Someone will correct me. I'm sure Paula will put in the chat how much you actually get. But you don't get very much. It's just like a part-time job because it's not something that should really, if you've got some political ideals, you might be able to get a few little pet projects in. Restore the old waterworks so people can go and walk in the cistern underground and have an exciting time. And then maybe you're into the railways that used to exist in your city and you want to reopen the tunnels under the city as a tourist attraction or something like that. Maybe you've got like a little pet project that you want to do, and that's why you go into council. But these motherfuckers who went into refuck councils not because they wanted to make their county better or the city better. They went in because they hate migrants. That's it. That's their reason for going in. And they're going to cause all this damage. They're going to be there for a couple of years, and then they're going to fucking leave. Half of Kent's refuck lot have already fucking left for one reason or another. But they're going to leave, and then we're going to be left clearing up their damage. We're going to be paying more for shitter services because of the damage that they've done in their idealistic stupidity. And that pains me. It really fucking pains me. They've failed to reduce costs, failed to lower taxes, and produced a maximum allowed council tax rise, in its flagship authority and also in authorities all over the country, including here in Durham. We're going to be paying 5% more on our council tax, which is already more than they pay. We pay more council tax here for this terrace house in Durham than they pay in London London for Buckingham Palace. We pay a higher rate of council tax than Buckingham Palace for a terraced house in Durham. And that's going up. Thanks for that. Thanks for that, Nige. And then you got DOGE over in the States dissolved without achieving its $1 trillion savings target. In fact, it looks very likely when the dust settles, they'll have cost the American taxpayer $1 trillion, leaving agencies hollowed out, revenue reduced, and projected death tolls around the world as a result of the cutting of USAID. Those death tolls are going to rise into the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe into the millions. I think that line from Oppenheimer, "I have become death, devourer of worlds." That's you, Musk. That's Elon. He has become death, devourer of children, devourer of babies. Anyway, so both programs, DOGE and DOGE, promised efficiency. Both increased financial pressure. Both degraded public services. So it was you and I who lose out, and neither delivered the outcomes that they advertised. And we said at the time that they wouldn't, and they didn't. So we were right. So we can all feel good about that. I, in particular, was right. I was right. It was going to be a fucking disaster. I said it back in February, and I was right. What can I say? This is why they pay me the big bucks. I wish. Okay, so I'm going to go over now to the papers for the paper review. Very, very quickly. Oh God, it's give me 1 second. Here we go. Boom. Daily Mail. Yes, you can have a happy divorce. Cool. Cameron reveals he's had prostate cancer. Oh, that's sad. I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone. Don't like him or his privately educated wife, Samantha, but, it's shit. Addicts should not feel shame, says the woman from the family. They need our compassion. She is actually right about that. Yes. And Billy says, I'll miss Corrie, but it was the right time to leave. I don't know who Billy is, but that's what he says. Maybe it's Billy Elliot. Billy Connolly? Billy, no mates. Billy Bunter? Billy Baxter? Billy, I don't know. Help us, Chancellor. Cost of living is number one priority, but will stomach tax rises if the richest bear the brunt. Chancellor Rachel Reeves has been told to hit the super rich in her autumn budget to prove Labour is on the side of struggling families. A poll shows 64% of voters back tax hikes on wealth. Campaigners told her tax the rich. The message couldn't be simpler. Yeah, please do. Graham was right, says Iverson. Yeah, thank you very much for that. £2 super chat. But I mean, come on, $2, sorry. But loads of people were right about it. I can't take complete credit for looking at that and going, that's not going to work. You know, someone builds a fucking car out of cardboard, internal combustion engine out of paper, and that's not going to work. You know, you see the old footage of the people who were trying to fly, and you'd have someone who had like wings, flapping wings. I was having them on like a bicycle, and they got the flapping wings, and they go off the edge of the pier, and you're just looking at it going, that's not going to work. It's literally not going to work. Aerofoil, mate. You need an aerofoil. Anyway, back to the papers. But we had to have a picture of the woman from the family on the front here. Because she's in that family, isn't she? And the same exact picture in the mirror. Oh, that's because that's the mirror. And the mirror, look, there's a mirror. There's a mirror of the mirror. That's fun. The Times here. Reeves to hit 100,000 homes with surcharge. Most expensive properties will face a £4,500 bill. Okay, cool. Cool. Most expensive properties. Yes. Tax the mansions. Tax the stately homes. Tax the castles. Tax the motherfuckers. Tax them till the pips squeak. They've got the money. We know they've got the money because they keep buying comics for $500 million fucking dollars. They keep buying fucking yachts. They keep sending fucking rockets to the moon for fun to go on a holiday. They've got the money. They've clearly got the money because they keep spending it on shite that they don't fucking need. How about instead of spending it on shit you don't need, you spend it on society. You spend it on us. You know, distribute the wealth a bit more fairly. Because if you don't, I mean, this is an excuse to let off some pressure. If you don't let off that pressure, rich people, there'll come a day. I swear to you, there will come a day when people have got nothing left to lose. And there's nothing more dangerous in this life than someone who's got nothing left to lose. And if there's 1 billion of them, you're fucked, mate. You're so fucked, it's ridiculous. So yeah, pay your fucking taxes. Jesus Christ. Starmer and Trump together on Ukraine. Ooh, won't go that far. Let's move on. Daily Telegraph here. Reeves 15 billion welfare giveaway. Workers forced to pick up the bill for benefit claimants in Chancellor's budget. Again, conflating claimants with pensioners. Because that includes pensioners. Of course it does. That's how they rack up these crazy figures that they come out with. And then there's a picture of David Cameron again. Same one as, was that the same one as this one? No, it's a different one. He just looks like he's made of plastic. Putin to rejoin G8 as Europe yields over peace deal. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? Why? Why are you allowing a country with a GDP per capita that of Grenada to join the fucking G8? You know, it's not a powerful country. It's not a big country. It's not a, it's not a superpower. It's not a superpower by any stretch of the imagination. It's a fucking wasteland. Fucking full of wasters. Fuck them. Bad or not, workers' rights law will cancel the Christmas job, if you say so. SAS soldiers hit out a Starmer's Troubles bill. It's the bottom here. RFK Jr.'s lewd poems leaked by lover's fiance. Well, there you go. Explicit love poems said to have been written by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have alleged to his alleged mistress have been leaked. Well, there you go. He seems like the type who would have a mistress with his, the fact that he seems half dead. BBC faces union fury over Davies' staff cuts, and then Netanyahu threatens to finish job in Gaza. No great news coming out of the Telegraph, but what you expect. Then we've got the Express, which has a free family-sized bottle of Coca-Cola, which is it's worth £2. The newspaper is £1.90. So basically, if you want to if you want to get a Coca-Cola, if you want to save 10p on a Coca-Cola, then great. Pensioners to lose £800 a year in Reeves' budget. Pensioners will be left nearly £800 a year worse off if Rachel Reeves extends a freeze on the income tax threshold in this week's budget, right? Pensioners. I love the way they write this, right? That makes it sound like it's all pensioners, right? That says pensioners to lose. No. The richest pensioners who have gone over the tax threshold will lose the money, right? But you've got to be earning quite a lot to have to spend that amount of money. But a lot of pensioners are doing really well. Don't forget, 1 in 5 pensioners are millionaires. So yeah, that's probably the people who are going to have to pay an extra 800 quid. Good. You can also get a family-sized bottle of Coca-Cola of Iceland worth £2 from the Daily Star as well, and the Daily Star is only £1.30, so you'll actually save 70p if you do that. So yeah, fuck you, Daily Express, save me 10p. You can save. I can say. Do you know what though? The reality is, I can save £2 by just not drinking Coca-Cola. There you go. Anyway, there's a story there about someone in the jungle, which I'm not watching, so I don't know what it's about. And then we've got fish disco fiasco. 700 million nuclear plan would save one salmon every 12 years, which is a mad story on the front cover of the Eye over here. So it's just here, if you can see my cursor moving around. Could our pets help solve our loneliness epidemic? Yeah, pets are great. Don't knock people's pets. And then we've got this story here. Reeves to unveil 600 million raid on foreign student university fees. Chancellors target universities in Wednesday's budget with a tax on international students' fees to fund grants for poorer British students as part of a cost of living drive. Good. I've said this for a while. If people have the money, foreign billionaires have the money to send their crotch spawn over here to learn in our universities, then cool. Make them pay and make the money that they pay for poorer people in this country to go to university. Love it. Absolutely love it. Have you noticed the only people who ever moan about how many people are going to university are people who went to university and they're very rich? They're like, I didn't learn anything in university. I didn't need to go to university. I didn't learn anything. It was, Daddy got me a job at, Saxman crap and Goldsbergs. But, I got this job for my own merit. Obviously, well, Daddy made the phone call. But, I didn't see the point in university. Whereas, like, working class people are like, I need to go to university in order to live the life I want to live. And they're like, it's always the same people who are saying, there's so many people going to university. Too many people going to university. Madness. Absolute fucking madness. So we'll move on to the Financial Times, the FT. Trump rails at Kyiv and Europe amid doubts over US stance on peace plan. Allies hold Geneva meeting. Not final offer, says president. Official calls situation messy. We'll be getting into this on stateside tonight a lot more. Investors warn Reeves of market risks in postponing the fiscal pain in budget. Over in The Guardian here, we've got title chaos as McLaren is sorry after 2 drivers, Lando Norris and another one got disqualified for some technical thing at the Las Vegas Grand Prix this weekend. Making new friends in your 30s, it's easier than you think. Cool. BBC to overhaul standards panel as fallout from bias row continues. European allies draw up Ukraine peace plan. World is still in the fight on climate. And Gaza, despite ceasefire, Israeli attacks continue. And then there's a hilarious typo here in The Independent, so you can spot it. Business warns Reeves over budget tax. The CBI government that tells government that death by 1,000 taxes will damage the economy in swipe at Chancellor over U-turn on income tax, as she is expected to lift the 2-child cap in Wednesday's financial statement. Statement. What's a statement? Is that a man who's part of the state? Is that someone who's a statesman? I think that's a statesman. I think you're missing the S out of the middle. Maybe it's another word. Maybe it's a statement. Statement. Oh, there you go. That's what it's supposed to be. Missing the T, darling. Yeah. How's a sub-editor missed that? It's on the fucking byline of the sub-headline of the fucking paper. It's fine. It's fine. You know, I sometimes I have technical glitches on my show here, and I'm just like, okay, but you know, I'm not paid loads and loads of money to do this, and I'm doing it all as a bit of a one-man band, you know, like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. That's me with me drum on me back and me cymbals and me harmonica. Anyway, so yeah, and meanwhile, British driver Lando Norris is disqualified in Grand Prix chaos. Privately educated, of course, because he's allowed to race cars for a living. And then we've got Helen Coffey saying, "Why is my daily dose of caffeine leaving me jittery and anxious? And as I get older, are you having a laugh? Are you a bit what the fucking hell, Helen? Helen, are you actually getting paid to ask why is coffee making you anxious and jittery? Like, do you not know that lots of caffeine makes you anxious and she gets paid for that. She got paid for writing that column. For saying that she was surprised to find that water was wet. I did heroin and found it really addictive. I smoked cigarettes and it made me cough. What a time to be alive. Imagine getting paid to do shit like that. Imagine being paid. That was your proper job. That was your proper job. You could brag about, you know, you wouldn't have people say to me, and they've said to me for years now, as I've run my own businesses and traveled around the world and done my own thing, lived on an island. You know, when are you going to get a proper job, Graham? When are you going to get a proper job? I want that job. Is that a proper job? Writing that, I was amazed to discover that that caffeine makes me jittery. Caffeine keeps me up at night. Oh. I don't know where to go with that. Imagine being the sub-editor when she turned that in. What have you written for? So I've written a thing about coffee. What did you write? I wrote that it made me jittery. Wow. Okay, so next we've got the Metro here. We've got Labour's budget warning. See what they've done there. Months of leaks have flatlined the economy. Rachel Reeves has been accused of causing economic paralysis by repeatedly leaking possible policies during months of budget build-up. During months of budget build-up. Easy for you to say. Yeah, I kind of agree with the Metro on this one. Like, shut the fuck up. You know, stop saying you're going to put up income tax and then saying, oh, actually, no, we're not. Stop saying, oh, we're going to do this. Oh, no, we're not. Stop leaking stuff to test the waters. Fuck that shit. Get your shit together. Get all your shit. Get it together. One thing that I have to say about Labour and Refuck seem to have in common is they were both absolutely not ready for government, local government or national. They just weren't ready, clearly. You know, they're like, oh, okay, we're in charge now. What should we do? You know, let's have a meeting where they all sat around the fucking big table. Like, what should we do now? Okay, we're in charge. We've done it. We're the dog that caught the car. And, you know, this is the same in the first term of Trump's presidency in 2016. Well, 2017, when he had his first year in office. Like, he didn't know what he was doing. He was just, like, making stuff up as he went along. He didn't have a fucking clue because he had no plan. And although I hate Project 2025, it's fucking disgraceful. And, you know, I hate everything that Trump's done this year. But at least he had a fucking plan. At least he did something that people noticed. It was horrible. It was horrible. Loved by his crazy people who think he's wonderful, but everyone else went, that's a bit fucking grim. At least he got stuff done. GSD, get shit done. Do stuff and ask for forgiveness later. Labour had a 170 seat majority when it won this election. Now it's about 150 or something. But I mean, still, you got a massive majority. Be bold. Be fucking bold. Do it. Fucking do it. Dick Van Dyke turns 100 next month. He does. He's still with us, thank God. Touch wood. Also, next year, I think April next year, David Attenborough turns 100. Please still be with us, Dave. I do live in constant fear of losing these people when Murdoch still walks the earth. But it can't be long now for Murdoch, can it? It can't be long. Surely it can't be long. Martin says, I drink water most of the time. Don't drink tea or coffee, and my cola goes flat due to not drinking it often. Used to tame my sweet cravings when they came along. Yeah. Fade for blinding bloody obvious. Yeah, Mr. Tisk. That's isn't that from Fawlty Towers where he says to Sybil, you should go on mesh question you should go on mastermind, specialized subject, stating the bleeding obvious. Yes, Helen. That's what I think you should do. Okay, so I'm gonna fuck off now. Thanks very much for joining us this morning as we went through the DOGE bullshit a little bit with a bit of a fine-tooth comb, and I'm trying to refer it to how it's fucking up in the UK as well. It's just this stupid, childish behavior. I could have talked about Milei in Argentina with his fucking chainsaw. It ends up costing more. This is like austerity. Austerity ended up costing us more. The reason why things are so expensive now because of austerity and Brexit, right? And austerity doesn't work because there's less money going around the system. The system generates less money. It's not a closed system. It's not a zero-sum game when it comes to an economy. And austerity meant that money stopped circulating because people were just like, I haven't got enough money to spend on frivolous things that I don't need. So that's one issue there. And then the next issue was Brexit, getting rid of all our foreign direct investments. No one wants to invest in this country because of the uncertainty that Brexit was bringing, and we didn't know what our future trading relationship was going to look like with Europe. And then when we finally got that future trading relationship, it was a bit shit. It was a bit shit, to say the least. Okay, so I'm going to head off now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back at 9 o'clock tonight with Stateside, inshallah. Before we go, just please give us a like. Give us a like. Also, if you're not subscribed, and I know 50% of the people watching this aren't subscribed, so please subscribe, right? And hit the bell notification icon, and that'll let you know when I'm going live with a new show. We're working on new stuff for you every day. Working for you. Bring you facts and entertainment and swear words. Someone's got to. So please join us tonight at 9 o'clock. If I don't see you tonight at 9, I'll hopefully see you tomorrow morning at 9 for the next morning brew. And until then, thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. And hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.